If you were no longer affected by the judgment of others and you stopped judging yourself, would you make different choices? Why make choices in your life based on judgments instead of on your awareness of what would create the life and living you desire? Everyone has the potency to make inspired choices. Get ready to listen, share, and experience the creativity that is you. Now, here is the host of Inspired Choices Radio Show, Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. Every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm.
Well, hello there, everyone. This is Christine. This is Inspired Choices After Dark. I thought we would try something new. I thought we would try something serious tonight. That's my friend Joanne Del Core giggling in the background. I don't think she thinks that this voice is real. What's wrong with my voice, Joanne? You're laughing incessantly.
Christine, get back to you. Where are you?
That's interesting. What just popped into my mind. This is going to lead right into our show. So welcome, everyone. I am the real Christine McIver. Please stand up. Please stand up. I'm in a mood. I'm just telling you. I'm warning you right now. If you're listening live or in the replay, I'm just warning you. I'm in a mood. So tonight, the show is Into Me, You See. And, of course, my guest co-host tonight, as she is every month, once a month, Joanne Del Core is in the house.
Hello.
So glad you're here with me tonight, girlfriend. I love when you and I
too.
play together. And I most especially love when we don't agree together because we expand possibilities. And a lot of people think you and I are kind of odd like that, but we really don't have a point of view about it, which is just brilliant.
Yeah, I can't believe how many people have told me, like, what, you and Christine together? What? That doesn't make any sense. I love it when they say that.
I know. And we have this evil laugh in the background.
It works.
You know, it does work. And, my show is called Inspired Choices, and I do want to inspire people to be choosing, to make choices. And I also want to challenge them. I want to stretch where they are today and really have them step into something possibly new that would be a contribution to them. And we can't step into something new if we're just going to buy our own story over and over again. So that's part of what I think is fun with you. Because when we are really challenging each other, we are opening up to more possibilities. And let's just face it, you and I like to have a little good argument once in a while, so it's all good. So
right.
Before we get deep into the show, I want to tell you a little bit about me. I am a possibilities coach. I work with individuals and organizations to help them bring the life forward that they deeply desire. A lot of times I'm working with people who come to me originally because they are in a stuck spot. And using all of my tools in my toolbox, I work with them to give them more possibilities, more tools, more choices. I am an Access Consciousness Certified Facilitator, a bars and body process facilitator, a radio show host, producer, and also the owner of A2Zen.fm. How does it get any better than that? I like to do a lot of different things, and I enjoy being different. I enjoy being me. So if you're interested in learning more about my programs and how they can actually be a contribution in your life, please do contact me. While I do charge for my services, the first 5 minutes are always free. So ask yourself, what are you ready for now? And what mystery would you like to unravel in your life, your living, your business, your body, and your money flows? So tonight, Into Me, You See. Are you always trying to be happy, vivacious, and the goddess? No, that's not right. Delete. Step
I love
back.
it.
What? Okay, so I've had a crunchy
Can you
day.
tell Christine is overworked? Can you tell she is overworked?
Or just a little unglued. Is intimacy the glue that binds connection, or is it something else? What does intimacy really create for us? Where in your life and living would you like to have greater intimacy? So that's the topic that we're going to be discussing tonight. And Joanne, I would love for you to tell all of our listeners about you. Please introduce yourself to everyone.
Yes, thank you very much. I am an emotional intelligence strategist. So essentially what I do is I help organizations, I help children, I help adults to create emotionally healthy environments. I am particularly excited about raising awareness around emotional development in childcare and child development. Ultimately, I just really want to create a space for people to start looking and creating opportunities for children to develop emotionally healthy environments. So I do everything from training educators to guiding daycare staff to working one-on-one with anxiety with individuals. So I have a huge array of interests, but I'm mostly focused in an emotional development capacity. And that's me.
That's awesome. And she works with me to try to help me with my mental capacity. She's been trying that for a long time. So if you would like to have a fun conversation tonight and you would like to step in and ask Joanne and I some questions, I'd love for you to give us a call. You can call us from the U.S. at 815-880-8255 or in Canada, 613-800-8736, or you can Skype us at a2zen.fm. If you are listening to the show in the replay, please feel free to email myself, Christine, at inspiredchoices.ca, or Joanne. What is your email, Joanne, at joannedelcore.com?
Joanne, yes, you got it. Mm-hmm.
And we'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions because, you know, most people are listening in the replay and they should have the same opportunity to ask some questions. If you are listening and you're near a computer, come play with us in the chat room. We always have so much fun in there. And it often gets a little crazy. So, Joanne, this topic was actually one that you came up with for us. This one popped for you. So I would love for you to start us in on this topic tonight. So Into Me, You See. How did that come to you?
Well, as most things do, they just sort of pop into my head. And this topic has been sort of circulating for me for a few weeks. I always sort of heard the word intimacy and kind of cringed at it. And then I heard someone say, into me, you know that intimacy means into me you see. Okay. And so I started to really look at that more seriously because I was sort of ready to look at it more seriously. And I recognize that intimacy is really the one thing, the ingredient that really binds relationships in whatever capacity. I mean, personal relationships, professional relationships, it's the connection of the bond, really. And intimacy is sort of the ingredient that creates the bond. And so I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been thinking about it even on a personal note, also in a professional way. I've been really thinking about what it creates. And so I thought, you know what a better way to have this conversation than to have it with Christine. Because Christine is going to have so many ideas about what this is. I'm going to be able to talk about what I believe this is for me now in my life. And let's share a conversation and let's really expand this notion of what into me you see really means and what the ingredients are behind that. So,
cool.
So I'm here to question and I'm here to explore and I'm here to bring maybe a new awareness around intimacy that we never really experienced before. So nice. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Cool. Well, it's interesting because intimacy, you know, for the most part, if you were to ask someone, what does intimacy mean? I mean, the general public would say it's when we get intimate with a sexual partner.
Right.
It's when we get physical, which is actually copulation. It is not actually intimacy. The majority, and I don't know the number, but the majority of people that are actually doing copulation are not doing intimacy.
Right.
They are putting body parts together, getting hot and sweaty, and maybe enjoying themselves. I would say probably half of them, at least 50%, are not. oftentimes sexuality is copulation is actually done from judgment and approving energy, right?
Yeah.
But
so I think I think the piece there that's been missing for a lot of people for a long time is the emotional component to intimacy.
Right.
So there's a physical and an emotional component, and that's the emotional component, and this is the reason why I do what I do. The emotional component is hard for people. We're not skilled in that area. We don't know how to build relationships from an emotional space. It's a skill that we haven't been taught.
Right.
So that's why I'm really interested in the topic.
Well, you know, I often say to my clients, the three primary areas that we are not taught about in life is money, is relationships, and raising children. Those are the three primary areas we are not taught about, and those are the three primary areas that, at least in my own business, that I have found where individuals come to me for professional coaching on a personal level. So yeah, we're not taught these things. So the formal definition of intimacy as found in the dictionary is a close familiarity or friendship. So it's actually considered the definition. Now, I don't have the older definition. I don't know if perhaps Keisha might have it close by. She's a Smith lady who is an amazing producer tonight. But the today's standard definition is closeness. That intimacy is closeness. And I would say bullshit to that. I would say it's way friggin' bigger than that. And as Joanne, as you know, and many of my listeners will know, I'm a certified facilitator with Access Consciousness. And Access Consciousness has, we talk a great deal about intimacy, and we talk a great deal about what that is. And, you know, we have thought on what that is as well, which is very different from that. So, if you're listening, if intimacy is really okay, Joanne, you and I have talked a number of times where oftentimes I'll say barriers down, right?
Yep.
So when we're saying barriers down, we often are putting up a wall to people around us, and we've been taught to do this as a way of quote unquote protecting ourselves. And, you know, the majority of individuals are often, there she is, I'll read that in just a second, thank you, Keisha. The majority of people are often operating from the place of judgment. They're operating from self-judgment or worrying that someone else is going to judge them. So we put these walls up. And when we're putting these walls up, it's because we are trying to use it as a form of protection. And what we actually do is we cut off our awareness to what is true, and we cut off our ability to receive from someone. When we're cutting off our ability to receive any, like a part of an individual, so let's say it is an intimate sexual partner, when we actually have the walls up and we cut off receiving awareness about what's going on with that individual might turn around and they might hurt us. They might what we backstab us. They may take us into a direction, betray us. Thank you, betray us in some way, or they might have had a really bad day yesterday, and because we've put that wall up, then today when they're being kind. And genuinely they are kind, then we can't receive it because we've got that wall up. So oftentimes when we talk about barriers down, and if you're listening right now, all you need to do is to ask for your barriers to drop. And you begin to receive more and more awareness around you. And when you start to do that, you can receive from the individual that you are with. You can receive awarenesses, and as you are doing that with no point of view, you can be an allowance of what that person chooses, which does create true intimacy because there's no judgment present then. When you're in allowance with someone, there's no judgment.
So you're talking about what it's like to be in a relationship with people. And I'm curious about why we have such a resistance around intimacy. Like, why is it that in our culture we are really resistant to the idea of connection, to closeness, to togetherness?
Right.
I know based on my own experience, this is what I can speak from,
right.
that I was educated in a place that really, really told me and taught me and instructed me to be an independent, free-thinking woman, that I didn't really need anyone to be who I am. And even though that's true, it really distorted my belief about what it is to partner and how
it
to partner.
set you up.
It really did, but I created an even more distorted belief that I absolutely didn't need anyone to be who I am and to acquire the things that I've acquired. So,
And can you feel the resistance even when you're saying, I don't need someone?
Absolutely. But I mean, but I believed as if it were the truth for myself, and And so, and boy, do I feel sorry for the people who came up against that in my life.
Yeah, thank God it wasn't me. Okay, Joanne, put this on pause because we need to take a commercial break.
Okay.
But when we get back, I can feel us digging down deep, girls and boys.
Let's go, girl. Let's go.
You go, girl. So you are listening to Inspired Choices on A to Zen.fm with my incredible co-host Joanne Del Core and myself, Christine McIver. And when we get back, we are going to continue the conversation around what is intimacy.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
Managing your emotions is often seen as a hard thing to do. But what if that was a contribution in order to fully awaken who you really are? If you're not achieving your dreams in any area of your life, it's because you are not connecting with the emotions behind those dreams. Not because you can't, but because you haven't been taught how to. To learn how to change all of this, contact the Emotional Intelligence Strategist, Joanne Del Core. Joanne can be found at www.joannedelcore.com or email joanne@joannedelcore.com. Working with Joanne, you'll receive tools and information that will bring you to a place of true, sustained emotional health and happiness for you, your kids, and your family. Being visible, being social, being heard. What desires are you ready to create? Would you like to take the next step to creating a potent presence on the web? Would it create more possibilities and expansion in your life? BeingVisible.ca offers website, social media, radio show creation, and more. Creating with consciousness, bringing the energy of you to your audience. Are you ready to connect with your audience clearly, regularly, and with ease? Christine McIver and Carol Glover work with individuals and organizations to create a powerful presence on the web. Personal attention and one-on-one training creates the ease with expanding you. Are you ready? Connect today at beingvisible.ca.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. So tonight, Joanne Del Core and myself are talking about intimacy. And Keisha looked up the definition, the dictionary definition, the older one. And it says closely acquainted, very familiar. which is not much different from the one that I read, but it does go on to say make known, announce, and impress. That really jumped out at me, the word impress. And then inmost, and then as a verb, it is suggest indirectly. Back formation from intimidation. So, wow, that is those two are huge surprises. So, to impress and intimidation is there. Back formation from intimidation. Yeah. Wow, and it's like this seems these definitions seem really like the opposite of what
we're talking about.
Of what we in today's time and space believe intimacy is in the definition, and yet you and I are discovering and uncovering in this conversation that most of us do not really understand intimacy. So how much of that is actually permeating through the craziness of connection with intimacy? Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, it's like it's all backwards.
Kind of, but I'm looking at the Latin root of that verb. You know, I took linguistics in university, so I'm kind of like just going back on my own language background here. The past participle is intimare, which means going inwards emotionally. In means going inwards, and timare is, from what I can gather, is the emotional space inwards. So to me, it sounds a little bit more like what they're wanting to describe here is to go inwards, to suggest something inward. That's interesting to me.
Okay, so that's cool, because when we think about intimacy, now let's go back to what I was saying at the beginning. We often think about, in this society, intimacy is sexual copulation, right?
Yeah.
And and that is more of an outward, getting connected to someone else.
Right.
But true intimacy with oneself, I mean, you cannot have it with another unless you have it with yourself. So true intimacy, well, if I do not have intimacy with me, if I do not know my shit, if I do not know what I'm brilliant at, and if I'm not willing to recognize and acknowledge my brilliance, if I'm not willing to recognize and acknowledge where my shit is, that I'm still moving through, and I'm not willing to really get naked with my shit and change it, then how can I be willing to be naked with you? How can I be willing to see and receive all of you if I'm not willing to see and receive all of me?
But, you know, here's the thing, Christine. I don't think people are doing that consciously. You know, I don't think that people are resisting intimacy consciously. I feel like this is, you know, I'm going to go back to like my initial point about, you know, we live in the 20th century, and there's a bit of a euphoric obsession with isolation, and that, you know, it's really important to be independent. It's really important to be who you are versus being with others and being in community with others. You know, we're living in a society now that really glorifies an independent lifestyle. And we don't look at raising our children in a community anymore when we did in the previous generation. So I feel like what we're facing with intimacy is not just a personal resistance, but it's a belief, it's a cultural sort of chip that's been embedded into our system. And irony of modern day life now is that couples today are living together as complete strangers.
Okay, wait.
You know,
that is a judgment. That is a judgment that, in my point of view, what you're saying is, let's say 50 years ago, 100 years ago, people that were married were not living together, married together, and still be very separate.
Well, I think what I'm reiterating is really like there's data on divorce. Divorce is at an all-time rate. We've known that for many years. We've known that for 30, 40 years. And it leads me to conclude that intimate relationships are just falling apart. People don't know how to create the intimacy in a relationship.
I'm going to challenge you again, because the one thread that you're not pulling on is the fact of the matter that people did not feel empowered. They felt very judged, and they felt very locked into marriage as a system everyone was so involved with churches, and they were so entrained into what they could and they could not do. They did not choose divorce, right? And so I know for sure many marriages that should not have continued and yet did continue. And those, first of all, they did not have true intimacy, true closeness, and there was a great deal of, you could just see it in their faces that they were just so like, oh my God, I made my bed, now I have to lie in it.
However, I'm going to rebut that and say I came from a family, my grandparents had the ultimate in intimacy in their relationships. They were almost the polar opposite, but their relationship was a beautiful modeling of what intimacy looks like and what connection looks like and what mutual equality looks like. And I feel like that's what intimacy really is here for. It's to show us and it's to tell us that we are together, we are here, we are the same, and we are equal. Whereas independence tells us we are different. We're not on the same page. We're kind of rivalries. We're rivals. We're not in this together. So I don't know. I think that's.
I agree with you that there. Joanne, I'm not denying that there have been many beautiful communions of people together that did have marriages that were a contribution to each other and to society as a whole. But I'm saying that when we just look at divorce rates today, I don't think that that's a true accuracy because people didn't feel empowered to choose for themselves so many years ago.
Then let's look at the children nowadays that are experiencing high levels of anxiety and depression, and parents who are having a hard time connecting with their children. That to me is just a lack of being able to create connection.
Right. So what if we were creating communion with people, where the one thing about intimacy that I've come to know is when I really am willing to be intimate with me, when I'm really willing to see all of me without judgment, being in allowance of everything I've ever chosen and everything that I ever choose. Really, I've made choices and used to beat the crap out of myself. You know that. You and I have been friends for many years. And today it's like, okay, cool, I chose that. And I'm no longer in the space of judgment, so I am intimate with myself.
Yeah, but Christine, sometimes you are in the space of judgment, and that's freaking okay because we're human, but it really, really matters if you're with a person who's going to hold you in a space of non-judgment. Like, I really believe that intimacy is about the quality and way in which you hold somebody, literally and figuratively. It's like, just imagine picking up an object on a desk and putting it in your hand and noticing how you hold the object. Do you hold it with your fist restraint? Do you hold it with your palm facing upwards, with your fingers spread out? Like, the quality in which you hold is the name of the game when it comes to intimacy. So you trust me to hold you with love, to hold you with kindness, to hold you with openness. This is why you can be vulnerable. And so I believe, so even if I'm caught up in my own judgment about how I'm so wrong with how I'm feeling right now, I know that I can lean on you to be the person to hold me with non-judgment.
Right,
so it
because
also requires the other person to step into that place, Christine.
I completely agree with you. I am not arguing with you on that at all. That is in order for us.
Because we can't always freaking be like non-judgment of ourselves. We're human. That's part of our DNA.
Challenge you. I am good. Whoa!
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Rock it out.
So your perspective creates your reality. Okay, so I believe that is possible. Excuse me, I am a possibilities coach. I believe it is possible, and I will never stop choosing to rock the apple cart.
That's the beauty about being human, Christine. That's the beauty about being human. We're always changing and evolving, but we can't always be 100% non-judgment free. Like, judgment free.
Then you're going to make that so. Then you're going to make that so.
Then the one
okay,
point.
wait.
Oh
okay,
God,
wait,
here we
hold
go.
on.
This is another freaking radio show, Christine.
Okay, and people, we are in the same house, so after this show is over, trust me, sparks are going to fly here. Okay, we're going to take a really short break, just 2 commercials, and we will be right back. Stay tuned, A2Zen.fm, Inspired Choices, Joanne Del Core and me.
Ciao.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
Managing your emotions is often seen as a hard thing to do. But what if that was a contribution in order to fully awaken who you really are? If you're not achieving your dreams in any area of your life, it's because you are not connecting with the emotions behind those dreams. Not because you can't, but because you haven't been taught how to. To learn how to change all of this, contact the Emotional Intelligence Strategist, Joanne Del Core. Joanne can be found at www.joannedelcore.com or email joanne@joannedelcore.com. Working with Joanne, you'll receive tools and information that will bring you to a place of true, sustained emotional health and happiness for you, your kids, and your family.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is A2Zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Okay, welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Inspired Choices, and tonight I am with Joanne Del Core, and we're talking about intimacy. And if you've just tuned in, I want you to know, number one, Joanne and I adore each other. Number two, we
love that you have to
to
put that out there.
We enjoy challenging each other because we stretch our own selves in doing that. And we both know we don't have to agree with each other to still have intimacy and to still care deeply for each other. So
yes.
would you be...
Which means to me, can I just say this? Which proves to me that all relationships can work. Because if we are fundamentally working through things and we are respectful of each other's opinions, to me that just means that we can really create relationships with people that we thought were not a match for us.
Right. I mean, I think that we can be in the world with anyone. And again, I'm going to go back to some of the things that I've learned is when you are in allowance of what anyone chooses, you don't need to be poked and prodded by what they choose. And you can actually create beyond anything you've created with someone before. So we're talking about intimacy. And I'm going to come back to what we were talking about, Joanne. But before we do, I just want to share a couple of things that I had talked about Access and how Access talks about intimacy. And so I'm just going to read to you a little bit from Access Consciousness. So intimacy is based on no judgment. It's based on total honor, total trust, total allowance, total vulnerability, and total gratitude. You can have that right now if you're willing. Intimacy is a level of awareness that you're willing to have with the other person that doesn't have anything to do with copulation. So it talks about intimacy being honor, trust, allowance, vulnerability, and gratitude. Mm-hmm. And when you are in those energies with anyone, whether they're standing in front of you or you just think of that person, judgment cannot be present. And what can we create, Joanne, really with this knowledge and with this awareness with individuals? And that's where we can start to drop the judgment more and more, and we can be in allowance with people. I mean, I've had relationships with people. I've been married, I have children, and I've definitely created some chaos in the past based on judgment and based on feeling like they didn't care about me, and I would start putting walls up and so on. And I certainly wasn't coming from the space of allowance. Now, I am learning to strengthen that muscle and learning to be an allowance of what anyone else chooses. Not that they need my approval. That's not what this is about. This is really being in the world and being vulnerable with anyone and having allowance for whatever they choose. That's where we begin to create intimacy.
So at the end of the day for you, what makes it important for you to be in allowance, to be in the receiving mode? Like, what's that for you?
Okay, say it a different way because I'm not getting what you mean.
What do you do? What does allowance do for you?
When I'm in allowance, I am not triggered by anything anyone chooses.
So you know what? That says to me that you are allowing yourself to connect.
Okay.
With the other.
But you can have allowance.
You're allowing for greater intimacy when you allow, when you receive.
Okay, but you can be an allowance of what people choose that most people would say is insanity or crazy, that you're not in a relationship with, you're not trying to create a communion with. You can be an allowance of the crazy people across the world choosing to create a war. That's also allowance. That's also allowance. So when we are actually in allowance and we've dropped our barriers, we can receive more awareness of what we can do to create greater. So that's another
and I'm going to say that it also creates the fundamentals of a deeper connection, a deeper bond.
Yeah.
Because you know what, Christine, ultimately human beings, we are tied to connection. It is a human biological need to stay connected. Like when little children are young, when they don't get caressed or touched or connected with, they're off balance. They grow up into children. And I see that because I work with children.
They can actually die.
Yes.
A baby can actually die.
So to me, that means it's a critical need that we will continue to have as we progress. And I think it behooves all of us to really start learning how to connect at a more deeper level with ourselves and with others.
Yeah.
And I think that the skill that's required for that is expression and communication of feelings and listening. I cannot tell you how important listening is in the work that I do. When you are sitting there and allowing someone to listen, to speak, and you listen, and you are giving them your, not just your undivided attention, but you're intrigued by what their experience is, you're listening to what they're not saying versus what they might be saying, that creates such deep connection and intimacy that allows the other person to feel like they're having a healing experience. And a friend said this to me like a few weeks ago, and I've been thinking about it over and over again. She's been saying to me that listening is loving. It creates connection. And I just would want to invite anybody and everyone to just step into listening at a deeper level, to really bring in listening as a skill in their backpack and finding ways to go deeper with that listening. Because I tell you, when someone listens to me, Christine, say, for example, I'm going into a tailspin about something in my life, what I would need is for you, if I come to you, to listen to me in all aspects, to have a hard focus on me, but not only that, but just to sort of say to me, what I'm hearing you say is this, but I'm also feeling like this is a hard moment for you, like a complete acknowledgement of my experience. And then we don't have to go into problem solve mode around it.
Right. So what you're describing is basically what I would describe as being an allowance of what someone is choosing. And being an allowance of where they are at in that moment, without having to fix them, without having to change them. And as Keisha says, being present. being present with someone. Actually, I would say being present with someone encompasses even more than listening. Being present
Exactly.
with right? You and I can be in the same room, and we can be doing our own thing, and we can still be very present with each other. We can perceive the energy of each other. We can perceive you and I don't even, it's so funny how Joanne and I will go off into our own worlds, and we'll be creating and we will be growing ourselves and growing our businesses, and all of a sudden we will both connect. We will both connect within minutes of each other because we are present with each other even when we are physically not in the same space. We do not have to text each other every day or call each other every day. That's not what's required. Being intimate with someone does not mean being physically in their space. You can be intimate with someone without physically being, and I'm going to even stretch it to, you can still be intimate with someone who is not present in their body, that they have chosen to leave their body. My awareness is people don't really leave, they just leave their body. So you can still, in fact, Joanne, it's really interesting because I have more of an intimate relationship today with my father than I did when he was in his body.
Yeah.
I have a picture of him right above me that I look at all the time, and he's smiling and he's grinning and he's looking down, and one of his favorite things to do is eat my mother's meals, and I think it's a big, beautiful roast beef dinner that he's enjoying, and I just see the smile in his face, and his energy just, permeates me so many times, and I often communicate with him. So we can be present with someone without them being physically with us, and we can create intimacy without having to even say anything to each other.
I love what you're saying right now, because you're basically saying to me, when we create intimacy in relationships, we create opportunities to go even deeper and have deeper levels of intimacy, which makes the relationship much more rewarding and fulfilling.
Yes. And we have a knowing, like I have a knowing that somebody's knocking at my door right now.
Really?
Yeah. Joanne, can you take it over right now? I'll be right back.
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh my gosh, isn't that funny how that happened? Oh my gosh, Christine. But it's so true. It's so true what we're tapping into tonight. See what just happened right now? Christine sort of just took off, and I'd feel like our connection is so broken right now. But in reality, she's trusting me to hold the space for
always
the show. Are you there, Christine?
I am here. Sorry about that. I just had knocked at the door. This is live talk radio, everyone, and so you just never know when something might change. So we are going to go for Go ahead.
I love it.
I have total trust in you. I have total trust in my listeners that they're going to stay tuned, because this is a juicy conversation. So when we get back, we are going to continue, and we actually have a question in the chat room that we are going to talk about, and we're going to be wrapping it up very shortly. How did this happen so fast? I love dancing with you because it always goes so quickly and so much fun.
I know.
So stay tuned. You are listening to Inspired Choices Radio on A2Zen.fm, and we will be right back.
Many of us make choices in our lives based on the past or what others think. What would our lives be like if we made our choices based on what we desire in this moment? By tuning into Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver, you'll receive tools and inspiration you can use to do just that. You are an infinite being with infinite choices. Are you ready to create the life and living you truly desire? Listen for Inspired Choices Radio Show.
What if you really do change molecules by your interaction with them? What if the change you've been looking for is right before your eyes? What if the uncomfortableness that comes with difference could be fun? What if the closed-minded people of the world no longer determined our world? What if gratitude trumps judgment every time? What if your kindness healed the world? What if the earth is asking for your help? And what if you had the resources to give it? This is your invitation to step into something that Einstein, Marie Curie, Picasso, Da Vinci, Shakespeare, Aristotle all knew to be true. Hi, my name is Dane here. 13 years ago, I started to truly ask questions. Actually, I started to be the question, and everything changed for me. What if there are no dumb questions, or any question too large? What if you being you are the gift and the change this world requires? Is now the time? For more questions to create a change in your world, sign up for a free video series at beingyouclass.com. My gift to you, beingyouclass.com.
Managing your emotions is often seen as a hard thing to do. But what if that was a contribution in order to fully awaken who you really are? If you're not achieving your dreams in any area of your life, it's because you are not connecting with the emotions behind those dreams. Not because you can't, but because you haven't been taught how to. To learn how to change all of this, contact the Emotional Intelligence Strategist, Joanne Del Core. Joanne can be found at www.joannedelcore.com or email joanne@joannedelcore.com. Working with Joanne, you'll receive tools and information that will bring you to a place of true, sustained emotional health and happiness for you, your kids, and your family.
This is Inspired Choices Radio Show with Possibilities Coach Christine McIver. To participate in the program today, please call toll-free in the U.S. 815-880-8255, TALK, or Canada 613-800-8736. Or you can Skype us. Our Skype name is a2zen.fm. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Christine@inspiredchoices.ca. Now, back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. So tonight I am speaking with Joanne Del Core about intimacy. And Joanne, before the night ends, and we only have about 7 minutes left, how did this happen so fast?
Oh my gosh.
Please tell everyone
really.
where they can get a hold of you and what you're creating in the world right now.
Okay, I can be reached at joanne@joannedelcore.com. My website address is joannedelcore.com. And what I'm up to creating in the world is to shake up the educational system and really help teachers and parents support their children in an emotional development capacity. So I'm doing one-on-one emotional development work with young children. I'm also helping families to really navigate through the emotional space with their children, and I'm helping teachers and educators become experts in emotional capacity, in emotional development capacity, with training and development. So that's what I'm up to.
That's awesome.
Loving it. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that you're doing that. And it's an area in the world that people are not really paying much attention to. And if we can begin with the young children and showing them that it's okay to experience what they're experiencing without any judgment, we can really change the world. So I'm really grateful for that.
We would have a world that would be comfortable creating intimacy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we have a question in the chat room. Keisha says, I get that a lot of people are coming from quote unquote need with regard to intimacy. Can you speak to that?
People are coming from need with regard to intimacy. Well, the way that I'm going to respond to that is, yes, intimacy or connection is a need. And I believe it's really important to understand how to satisfy that need for yourself, but also how to be in it in relationship with another person. I think that is a sign of great maturity. I think that's a sign of great development, personal development, when we can actually show who we truly are to the other person standing in front of us without the veil, without the hidden agenda, just purely flawed, and being okay with the flawed part of who we are.
So when you say the word need, Joanne, you're not coming from the space of, oh my God, I need this person, I need this, right?
Right.
You're coming from something, you're coming from the space of desire.
Yes, if you'd like to put it that way, yes. I think that connection, love, and intimacy is needed to have a very grounded human experience. I think that's part of the journey. I think that's part
right.
of what do you think, Christine? What do you think?
Well, I think that we may be journeyed into this time and space on Earth alone, but I don't think that we are meant to be here on our own. We actually came to Earth where there is many people to create community, to create a difference, to create more possibilities. I think, well, I know that the original definition of the word need has about, and want as well. They both have many definitions that actually mean to lack. So when we say I need something, we're actually saying I lack something, right? So that's why I do change it to desire, because I desire to have intimacy with the people in my life. I desire to create intimacy. I desire to create communion with people, because from that space, I know we can create beyond. When I'm operating from the space of, and I have many times, oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. It's this energy that is contractive, and it's actually upsetting. Do you know what I mean? It can
it's
actually,
like a powerless feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can smell it. Mm-hmm. You can smell it off of someone. True. You can feel the vibration of it through text, through emails, through voicemails. You can. It is really does not create greater, and there is a great deal of judgment in it. Mm-hmm. So just going back to that, a lot of people come from the need with regard to intimacy. So they're asking for something. This is my point of view, that people are asking to have more intimacy, but when they're coming from the energy of need, it actually isn't intimacy. Because true intimacy is dropping our barriers and being willing to receive all. Mm-hmm. And what it feels to me like, they feel like they cannot have it. And I get, again, that oftentimes when people do not have it with themselves, they're not able to create it with someone else.
Yes. So here's a discussion where we start talking about intimacy being something that adds to your life rather than fills something that's not there.
Say that again.
It's like as if you're saying intimacy needs to come from a space of, I want to experience it because it's going to add to my life rather than fill a void. Right. Does that make sense?
And Keisha says, I see a lot of folks asking for intimacy while not being willing to be it with themselves, and that creates a lot of a big train wreck. Absolutely. So, this subject, there's courses about this as part of what I actually facilitate with people is we could do this for days and days. It's a much bigger subject than an hour-long radio show. So,
Truly, it is.
It is, and I do get that, we're still uncovering more and more and more of what intimacy can be for all of us. And if you would like to work with Joanne, or you would like to work with myself, we would be so happy to contribute to you in creating greater possibilities and greater intimacy, greater communion with yourself and with others around you. So please connect with us. You can tell that we are both very driven to change this reality, and we both love to laugh. So you won't have any fun looking at your shit with us.
Love it.
It's true. I would like to just let everybody know that if you're looking for more of the Access Consciousness work that I speak to, I'm actually going to be facilitating some classes actually all over, which is really cool. First, I'm going to be in Kincardine. This is starting in October. I'm going to be in Kincardine, and then Sudbury,
that's awesome.
Cambridge, Maddock, which is near Peterborough, and then in Toronto. And I'm going to be having a bars share every Tuesday night starting September the 1st. I would love to connect with you. And so you can do so at inspiredchoices.ca. And you can connect with Joanne at joannedelcore.com. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Joanne. I wonder what we're going to talk about next month. Everyone, remember, you can always make another choice. Bye for now.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Inspired Choices Radio Show. Christine McIver will return next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Mountain Time, and 5 p.m. Pacific Time on A2Zen.fm. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.